Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I don't emphasize that enough. But all the stuff that we're looking at is really shallow. I mean, Tadagak under 200 meters. Havoc is about 400 meters, but mineralization essentially starts at about 5 meters. Like it's really broad, very shallow, multiple lenses again, but basically goes to depth of about 400 meters so far. And then the unconformity target, the sandstone varied from 200 meters to 60 meters.
Wow,
So
that's
really
impressive.
shallow.
All right, welcome back to the next big rush. I am here with the one and only Dr. Rebecca Hunter from Form Energy, and we're going to be talking about uranium results outside of the Athabasca Basin. Rebecca, is it right for me to say that you're one of the highest grades, I guess, deposits outside of the Athabasca at this point? I can't really think of anything that's at this level that isn't in Saskatchewan. Am I in the sort of right neighborhood?
Yeah, first of all, it's great to be here. I just wanted to say that I haven't talked to you in a while. But yes, so um, I think overall, I mean, of course, there's Athas project to the south, another Nunavut project. So they have some pretty good grades as well. A little different of a deposit, but still
Mhm.
really exciting. So yeah, so exactly. This is this is it outside of in the unconformity kind of world.
There we go. So you guys are up there in the Thelon Basin, and I have spoken to a few people that have repeatedly pointed to this region as like the next Athabasca. And so it's really
Mhm.
exciting for me to follow the story with you guys. And you have just put out some results, which are partial. You're still waiting on some more holes to come through from the lab. But what have you found recently, and how does that fit your thesis? Give us a little bit of context here, if you will, please.
Okay, well, I mean, the project was we had a lot to do this summer. So we had to build a camp and we had to kind of get set up to actually do exploration. So we didn't actually get drilling until basically July. But anyways, the purpose of this season was kind of uh, threefold. I don't know. So it was to get back to Tadagak and expand it, and understand it better. So there's components to it that we still don't understand. It humbles me all the time. The geology can be cruel, geology sometimes. But yeah, so we wanted to get in there. We wanted to kind of understand Tadagak Main and West just a bit more, do a little bit of expansion, and then really, I really wanted to kind of test some of the subparallel faults that actually kind of the main fault is that we call it the Tadagak fault, but that's where kind of the mineralization is that we know to date. So I wanted to kind of test some of the other subparallel faults and see what was there. And then the other components, of course, sometimes I think it's hard to communicate the scale of this project. And so we also have Kavik, another mineralized zone that we don't even talk about for the most part. And we'll showcase that later once the results come in from this summer's drilling. And then we have all this blue sky stuff that I think is also a huge component of this project. And so the results of that we got so far, the labs were really slow, is Tadagak. And so kind of what we figured out there as we expanded some width. So we got some really good grades in the Tadagak main. We kind of isolated another lens. So last year we hit a couple really good lenses that kind of gave that 2% over, 11 meters. Then we stepped back a ways, another 15 meters, and we hit another lens. Again, 1% over about 7 meters. So, and that's kind of the style of this deposit is that you got these multi lenses. Some are higher grade, some are lower grade, some are thicker, some are narrower. Um, and so that was the purpose of that. And I think we achieved that. We understand that now. Um, and then we kind of moved to the west zone, which again has a similar style, but narrower veins, a little lower grade. And I tried to step out. So another component of this project is that during the Cameco days, we did kind of a number of holes. And so I'm not twinning those holes. And those holes, some of those holes are phenomenal. Certainly in Tadagak Main and even in Tadagak West. And so I was trying to step to the periphery. And so, yeah, so a little lower grade, we know that we're kind
So
of getting to
basically, you
the
were doing
edge of,
it for the geology and the actual value addition to the project, not
yeah,
just the
yeah.
promotion of part of it, right? Because just to give people some context, there is this unfortunate I guess, act or action in this industry whereby some people will choose to basically drill a hole right beside where they know there is a really juicy, high grade piece of mineralization because they
Mhm.
want the headline, they want the attention, and they want to be able to promote the stock, but it doesn't add anything of value to what we know, the deposit to contain. And so, Rebecca's out there trying to actually delineate, the deposit and trying to figure out, okay, what does this geometry look like? How far can we step out, etc. Which is the real science behind finding a
Mhm.
good economic project and not just doing it for the sake of the stock price. So sorry, Rebecca, just to
Yeah.
interject that because I think people need to realize that you guys are actually doing, real economic exploration, trying to figure out if this can one day become a mine and not just, to talk about high grade there for nothing. So sorry, you can
Yeah.
continue about, like what you guys were finding in this latest set of results.
Yeah, well, I mean that's exactly it. And so trying to figure it out, trying to expand it, and in when you do that, there's more risk, obviously, because you're not drilling beside what you know, but it is more value. And so that's kind of what we did. And one of the other aspects we kind of realized is that kind of realized it before, but it's more so is that we kind of have these cross faults, kind of northwest faults that cut and offset. The mineralization to a degree. And so that needs to be factored in. And so these pods, so when I was trying to chase some of these pods, I got a lot of kind of near, I would say near miss, elevated counts, the great alteration, like everything that looked really good, but then, it didn't have the mineralization, but still think it's close. And so kind of realize that step outs have to be quite narrow. It's kind of similar in some respects to kind of a structurally hosted gold system where you got to do a 12-meter step out kind of max to kind of figure it out. And big step outs are not good. So that was kind of what we came up with. And those are the results. And so still, multi-percent grade in places up to 8%, exciting. But yeah, we still for next year, we need to continue kind of stepping out, realizing those cross faults, and going from there. The only other kind of exciting part, we don't have the results yet. Well, there's lots of exciting parts, but for Tadagac, the only other thing is that we've kind of potentially have a new zone to the north. And so we had some really nice elevated counts along a subparallel structure, not the Tadagac fault. And so that'll be something that we'll be able to chase next year. It had the right alteration, had the right clay, everything was really good. Just needs more drilling up there too.
Interesting. And I wouldn't know the first thing about geology. It doesn't matter if it's uranium or gold, whatever. I'm just a complete noob when it comes to that. To this day, I'm more, I concentrate more on, like brownfield development type of companies. And so, can you explain to us in your area of work, when it comes to uranium, um, how come when we step out, say 50, 100 meters, we so often miss? What is it about these deposits that makes them, so different to, maybe a gold, silver, copper deposit?
Yeah, well, it's the size. Like these deposits, even the biggest ones, like the MacArthur's, the big Athabasca giants, they're still fairly narrow. So if you step too for, if you've got this, kind of the trend, you step kind of too far back, too far forward, easy to miss. The depth, sometimes when you have an unconformity, it makes it a bit easier. So especially if the deposit is at that unconformity. So when you have that sandstone, you got the basement, that you have a Z, you have an elevation to test. But the tricky thing with basement deposits is you don't know where that pod's going to be in the Z plane, I guess. So that's what's tricky about basement hosted deposits for sure. And that actually makes it harder to find than the unconformity, this traditional unconformity ones,
Gotcha.
like in the Athabasca.
Very cool. Um, So, what can investors expect going forward? I know you guys have some lab results waiting. How many holes are we talking about? What kind of timeline, if you guys have any, for expectations?
So we have about, I guess, 19 holes. So we got kind of that first batch at Tadagak. And so what we're waiting for is the rest of Tadagak. So those step outs, those bigger step outs, when I was trying to go onto those subparallel faults in that north zone, potential new zone, maybe just the start of it. And then Kavik. So we did 2 holes at Kavik into that zone. So that's again that mineralized zone we've never showcased. So
And
I
sorry,
drilled
how
it at
far
another
how
angle.
far are these two different zones?
Oh, there Kavik is like 10, 12 kilometers away. So
Oh wow, okay.
these are totally not related. You know,
Gotcha.
they're related, but not
Geologically,
spatially.
but
They're
but
not,
not
yeah.
spatially. Yes, I get it.
Yeah. So yes, there's another big gravity anomaly, mineralization that was hit back when Cameco was there. But still, again, knowing the step out size, these were 25, 30, 50-meter step outs. So, there's a lot of room in there to figure it out better. And so that's what I did. And so some of the results there that are exciting are higher counts than we ever hit before historically. So I'm excited to find what's there. We'll get those assays. And then the rest of the results are the blue sky. So talking about that kind of unconformity model, the basement model. So, part of our property, we're looking for those basement deposits. And then part of our property, I'm looking for those kind of traditional unconformity deposits where it's right at that contact. And so that's what those 3 other targets are. So we got to Ned, we got to Ira, which is another really good spot that was drilled in the past, but hit really good alteration, nothing else, and Loki. So, so anyways, those results will come. So again, to temper expectations and stuff like that, like we didn't hit any MacArthur River or anything like that at this stage for those targets, but we hit really good alteration and real and probably elevated counts. We'll see, I don't want to, who knows? We'll see what the lab actually shows, but that's you know, it's basically the building blocks of what I think what the bigger goal up here is. If we're going to make the Thelon another major uranium district, we got to demonstrate that it has, the deposit, at least size, grades and stuff like that. Like they vary across the world, but the size. And I think finding deposits at the unconformity is the start of that. And I think what we've kind of started is that for the first time, we actually have holes that have alteration in the sandstone. And so that's actually demonstrating that those processes are happening up here as well.
Very cool. Awesome. So there's stuff still in the labs. The labs must be just absolutely packed. Sometimes I wonder why we're doing the whole exploration thing instead of just setting up a lab and living off that, because those guys, let me tell you, that's probably a good business if you're in the right location. So you
Yeah.
still have these pending results. Just as I guess some more context here, how deep are we going? Because at one point we're looking at these different deposits and we're trying to figure out eventually, like when are they going to be mined, if this is mineable, etc. How deep is what you have already found? And maybe if you can remember roughly the pending holes, how deep they go.
Yeah, no, that's a good point, and I don't emphasize that enough. But all the stuff that we're looking at is really shallow. So, I mean, Tadagak under 200 meters, kind of is where that's at. And then Kavik is about 400 meters, but mineralization essentially starts at about 5 meters. Like it's really broad. It's very shallow, multiple lenses again, but basically goes to depth. So about 400 meters so far. And then the unconformity targets, the sandstone varied from 200 meters to 60 meters. So,
Wow,
so
that's
really
impressive.
shallow,
Yeah,
shallow holes.
that's
Yeah,
excellent.
shallow target.
Very good. Okay. I will not keep you any longer, Rebecca. Thank you very much. People can add Forum Energy to their watch lists, and keep an eye out, because I have a feeling that the next couple of set of results, whether they come in, one or two more batches, I think they're going to surprise people to the upside. So it's worth taking a look and keeping up with the story. Any last words that you want to leave our investors with, Rebecca?
Yeah, I guess just the news. Yeah, we'll probably put out another kind of three main press releases on the Tadagac result. Sorry, the Thelon Aberdeen project results. So Tadagac, we'll finish that. That'll be another release. We'll talk about Kavik in a release, and then we'll talk about those exciting blue sky targets.
Awesome. Very exciting couple of months for sure. I'll catch up whenever those are out to give people yet more context and help them to make a better investment decision. Thank you so much and happy travels because you're always traveling.
Thanks a lot. It's great seeing you.
Take care.